Everybody, and welcome back to the Damage Report. Today is 2026, or this year is still 2026. Obviously a great year. I think we can all agree on that. We started with a war, now we're being invaded. I have to assume that at some point between now and Saturday, Clarence Thomas is going to declare his retirement. That's like the only thing remaining. But with that put out into the universe, I welcome to the one bright shining light in 2026. Yaz is here. Yasmin Khan, how's it going?
Hi, that's a lot of pressure you just put on me, but thank you. I appreciate it.
No, it's good to have you and your naturally voluminous hair. I'm referencing a conversation we were having for the show on with us today.
Yeah.
You've missed a lot since the last time you were on.
It's been a while. Yeah, it's been a while since I've been on. I've been on the main show a few times. The Young Turks, I'll say, a few times. So, I've been keeping up with everything going on, but it's like, you would think that we were used to this by now with the constant inundation of things, but this year really just started off with a literal bang, and we're gonna get into it in the show. It's so much to keep up with, and you have to keep pushing through because they want you to be tired, and just fight it. We gotta fight it.
Yeah. No, I mean, I like on one level, yes, keep fighting, but also I think I may just lay down. Actually,
you can lay down, take a rest. Yeah, we can cycle through. We'll work in shifts.
Yeah. I want to have that moment for Iron Man at the end of Endgame where he's finally able to sleep, even though I didn't fix anything. I want to go to sleep, but
Iron Man,
not yet.
He didn't go to sleep though, John, at the end of Endgame. So we don't want that. We don't want that ending for you.
Anyway, okay, everybody. Of course, we're talking about the story that was sort of like live breaking during yesterday's show, and when we were getting tweets about it, we'd seen the initial reporting. I didn't want to jump out ahead of the facts and just assert that I knew what was going to be true. I did predict that the cover story that the ICE officer had to kill her because she was gonna murder him, and she was gonna run over every ICE facility in I asserted that I thought that would probably end up not being true, and hey, what do you know? It turned out not to be true. But we're gonna give you a whole lot more details on that today. More details on what looked like is gonna be an absolutely massive, historic, unprecedented buildup in our military and the military budget. Of course, AOC dunking on the gross, creepy little pervert Jesse Waters. That will be fun. And Elon Musk with even more explicit racism. So that's just in the first hour. We have more, I'm sure, in the aftermath. Obesity's done. RFK Jr. is gonna stamp that thing out. So we might finally get a change up in the White House. Let's see, what else do we have? Marjorie Greene's next phase. That'll be fun. We're gonna be talking about a combination of both what she's publicly saying and also what theoretically my sources are telling me behind the scenes. So that's gonna be fun as well. So lots to discuss, everybody. Buckle up, hit the like button, share the stream, send in your comments or tweets or super chats. And with all that said, Yaz, are you ready to jump into the dark news?
Yeah. I've been protein loading like RFK Jr. would like me to be doing. So yeah, ready to go.
Everybody needs to eat one big steak and one full chicken every day.
Every single day.
Every single day. Or you get subs. It doesn't have to be a chicken, obviously. Maybe you don't have fresh chicken in your area. It can be like a bear that you found on the side of the road, a whale that you found washed up on the beach, just some full animal, okay? Anyway, let's jump into the serious news, starting with this.
There's little I can say, again, that'll make this situation better, but I do have a message for our community, for our city, and I have a message for ICE. To ICE, get the out of Minneapolis.
So that is what the mayor is saying. That's what the people there are saying. And that's what I think a lot of communities are saying. Why the hell is ICE and Border Patrol and the special agents and all of that coming in anonymously? And then not only breaking up families, destroying communities as they have been, but as we've been predicting for a long time, they've turned on us and they're now killing American citizens. And so of course I'm referencing the story that you are all, I'm sure, very familiar with at this point. That was the needless murder of 37-year-old Renee Good, who you can see in this photo. I know some other photos were going around that turned out not to be the slain individual, but here you are seeing her. And we're gonna give you details about her, details about the needless murder of her yesterday. But we also need to engage with maybe like in a larger sense, the even darker part of this, which isn't just that ICE needlessly murdered this 37-year-old mother, it's that the regime immediately decided she's a domestic terrorist. Remember the term that we used to reserve for people like Osama bin Laden? Now it's just if ICE kills you, you become by definition a domestic terrorist. They're all saying that. They're all lying absolutely wildly about things that are indisputable because we can see them on tape. Here, let's jump into some of that lying.
Get the out of our neighborhood. Out car. What the dude, what the
You know, actually, we're gonna pause on getting to Kristi Noem lying about that video, and then Donald Trump lying even more insanely, even more dementia-ridden lies from him. But what you see in that video, according to every right-winger on Twitter, is that she decided, this 37-year-old, she has apparently, as far as we can tell, no criminal record. She's not in any legal trouble in that situation. She's being harassed by ICE, but she hasn't done anything. ICE, bear in mind, has no power of like arrest or authority over her. She's not an undocumented migrant. They have no reason to believe that she's transporting them. They're just harassing her because how dare she be there and bothering him. So the right wing will tell you, she decided, I'm just gonna set fire to my life. Hey, screw my kids. I'm gonna murder this one ICE officer surrounded by other people with guns being filmed. I'm just gonna do that. And the way I'm gonna do that, and this is what they all pretend to believe, JD Vance, all the independent right-wing media, every Fox News personality, is okay, so she wants to kill them. So what she does is, she backs up away from the guy, which is obviously the first thing you do when you want to run someone over. Then you turn the wheel away from the officers, which again is obviously what you do when you want to murder someone. And then you drive at slow speed, trying to turn and go down the road. And so obviously the cop, who is like on the front side bumper area when she starts to go forward, has to shoot her in the face multiple times. That is what they all claim to believe. Now, I could say to you, he can just step out of the way, but I don't need to say that as if it's some sort of hypothetical. He did just step out of the way. So he objectively, his life was never in any danger. And by the way, he could have stepped even faster out of the way if he hadn't paused to pull his gun out and begin shooting her. And then regardless of that, all of that, which is damning for the officer, once he is on the side of the vehicle, he's directly next to the driver's side window, he reaches in and continues shooting her at that point. I don't know if you know how a car works, but a car goes forward along the path of the two tires. When you're on the side of the vehicle, it is literally impossible for the vehicle to harm you. And he decided the shot I already fired in the first shot, which we'll see, might or might not have even hit her. We don't know. It's possible he missed with that first shot. It's possible that only once he was on the side of the vehicle and he decided to execute her at point blank range, that might have been the shots that actually hit and killed her. And every right winger, and I want to throw out a lot of insults against them. I'm going to try to keep things clean here. Pretend to believe that when he was on the side of the vehicle, he had to execute her at that point. And it's awesome that he executed her. And I stand with ICE and all of these people who believe, don't mess with Texas. We got to water the tree of liberty with the blood of tyrants. Oh, goddamn, big government, we got to shut it down. All of them believe that if an ICE officer is harassing you and you try to leave, he can murder you right then. They all believe that. Now, with that said, you saw the video, you've got my thoughts. Let's quickly go to Kristi Noem and then we'll discuss.
It was an act of domestic terrorism. What happened was our ICE officers were out in an enforcement action. They got stuck in the snow because of the adverse weather that is in Minneapolis. They were attempting to push out their vehicle, and a woman attacked them and those surrounding them and attempted to run them over and ram them with her vehicle. An officer of ours acted quickly and defensively shot to protect himself and the people around him. And my understanding is that she was hit and is deceased. Anyone who is a citizen of this country or is here legally has nothing to fear.
She was, of course, a citizen of the country. Maybe Kristi Noem doesn't even know that. Maybe she cares as little about the woman who died as every other part of her job. All of this is just an opportunity for cosplay in the short term. Didn't she have like a big cowboy hat on that she got to wear? I wonder how long she spent choosing her outfit for the press conference where she revealed that ICE had murdered an American citizen. And the entire operation is in the short term designed to get people to maybe think there was something to the Somali fraud story that they made up, or to buttress her 2028 race. That's it. None of this has anything to do with the community, Minneapolis, let alone the woman who died. This is all about their political aspirations. And so Yaz, she's a domestic terrorist. Because terrorism is obviously when you try to drive away from ICE. That's the definition as it has always been understood. What do you think?
Yeah, I wonder why people like Donald Trump and Kristi Noem, I know we're gonna get to Trump's response later, but Kristi Noem, why did they even bother to say anything at all? Because there's really no value in anything that they have to say anymore. We all watched the video. We all saw the same video. We all saw with our own eyes what happened. And then they try to turn around and tell us, no, that's not actually what you saw. You don't know the full story, even though the full story really was all on camera. This is why Kristi Noem didn't want ICE agents to be recorded by civilians, even though that is not legal. Like, we should be able to record law enforcement officers. So the only people who are still defending what happened in that video are the people who are so cult-like and so racist that they can't possibly break from their support from Trump and the Trump administration and their support of ICE and the ICE agenda, right? They have to still be able to support it. And in doing so, they're saying, you know what? I just listen to what my cult leaders tell me, and I don't even trust my own eyes anymore. I don't even want to see the video for myself because I want them to tell me how I'm supposed to think about this and how I'm supposed to feel about this. And yeah, she's a domestic terrorist now, right? She's a white woman, right? That is very important because that throws all of their spin into a lurch, right? They can't go to their usual tactics. They can't just call her a terrorist, not a regular terrorist, because she's not brown. They can't call her a gangster because she's not black, but now she's a domestic terrorist, not a regular terrorist. They need that qualifier there. And now she's a radical leftist because according to the right, that is the worst thing you can be in this country as a white person. But since she was a white woman, they can't pull out their old playbook. They can't assign her to some scary Latin American country. They can't make up some ties to some scary criminal gang, but they can do things like, point to the pronouns that she has in her Instagram bio, as if that is any reason for someone to just be shot like that for no reason in the middle of the day while on camera. Like it's I don't understand how they think they're gonna get away with this.
Yeah, I know. I mean, they control the DOJ. And they are already using that to interfere with the investigation. They're already blocking the local investigators from accessing information. The DOJ obviously is not going to investigate this in any serious fashion. Kristi Noem and Donald Trump have already decided this is awesome. It was great. Actually, it's awesome that she died. So I don't know, they might legally get away with it. We'll see. We can talk a little bit about what Minnesota can do. But I mean, look, JD Vance and Donald Trump have already come out and reassured their secret police, we have your back. You can just go and you can cover up your face. And that guy, by the way, I don't know his mind. I'm gonna guess he was there and he did what he did because on some level, he has always dreamed of shooting a woman. I'm going to guess that because when he was given an opportunity, what he found to be an excuse, that was his first instinct, was to pull it out and shoot at her. And then once he was fully safe, it wasn't good enough for him. He had to make sure that she was dead. He had to finish her off. Even though, like Kristi Noem's like they followed their training. So we can't show you the graphic, but their training is to not step in front of a car. For fairly obvious reasons, they're not supposed to park themselves in front of a car. They're also not supposed to yell mutually contradictory commands to the woman, telling her to get out, telling her to leave, telling her to stay and not move, all simultaneously, the way cops generally do. So there's nothing that you can do that will result in you actually following their orders, because you cannot, by definition, follow all of their orders simultaneously. And by the way, he's the one who did it. He loves the fact that he shot a woman, but ICE also, by the way, loves this. And why do I know that? Their cover story is that they had to do this to save their life. Do they have to go around destroying the memorials to her to save their lives? Is that necessary? Is that why videos going around of ICE officers trampling and kicking apart memorials to the woman that they murdered? Is that self-defense that they're doing that? Like, when I assert that they want to murder these people, I have evidence. They're going and destroying the memorials. Your cover story that has to do with self-defense, what the hell does any of that have to do with it? So anyway, let's turn now to this. Donald Trump, of course, can always be relied on to have the worst take on anything that happens and to pour gasoline on a fire that's already burning. And so we have another example of that. So as the initial information about the woman in Minneapolis who was murdered is coming in, this is what he posts on True Social. And I know I say this a lot, but this might be maybe one of the worst things he's done there. I don't know, the Rob Reiner stuff was pretty bad, pretty diluted, pretty deranged. Look at this. I have just viewed the clip of the event which took place in Minneapolis. Okay, so the cover story is that he saw the video, so bear that in mind. It is a horrible thing to watch. The woman screaming was obviously a professional agitator. She wasn't. And the woman's driving the car was very disorderly, obstructing and resisting, who then violently, willfully, and viciously ran over the ICE officer who seems to have shot her in self-defense. Based on the attached clip, it is hard to believe he is alive, but is now recovering in the hospital. The rest of it is all bad, but let's pause there for a second. If you're a conservative, you're watching this. She ran over him. He's in the hospital. He might not survive. Do you believe that is true? I mean, you've seen the video. I know that you're all saying that she tried to hit him, which is also false. But Trump says he just watched the video and the guy was run over by the car, and I don't know if he can live based on the injuries he sustained. By the way, the video of him after it going on, he's just walking around, he's strutting. He's finally achieved his biggest life goal, which is shooting a woman in the face. He then flees the scene, by the way. He's not taken to a hospital. He flees the scene, which again, you're not supposed to do. You're not supposed to take the firearm that you just used in a lethal shooting and then flee to, I don't know, mess with it a little bit, mess with your body cam footage. I don't know. All that's left off. Trump doesn't care about that because obviously he was never gonna care about this woman. But he lies to his base that she ran over the man. He hasn't retracted that. He was pressed on this, by the way, this morning in a press conference. He didn't retract any of it. He asserts that he is just as right today as he was yesterday about all of that, Yaz. And I don't know if it's because, if it's literally the brain rot that he has. I don't know if he realizes that he can effectively rhetorically shoot someone on Fifth Avenue and there'll be no consequences for it. But that's one of the most insane lies I've ever seen from a president in my life. What do you think?
Yeah, I mean, that's what I was talking about earlier. Like, how can he say that, right? And insinuate that he saw the video, and I mean, not insinuate it, he said it. He said that he saw the video and that's what he saw. Like, that's what you saw, that's what your eyes saw when you watched that video. Like, then we can't trust you. We can't trust anything that you say. We can't trust your account of anything. And the thing is that the thing that's so frustrating about all of this is that it has been 10 years with this man now, over 10 years. We should know by now that we can't trust anything that he tells us. We should know by now that he has no problem lying to an entire nation of people, to the entire world even. He has no problem going on record in written form and lying to millions or billions of people, right? So I don't know why anybody still listens to him, especially when it's so easy to just go for yourself and watch that video. But the worst people who support him are the ones who are going to say, I don't need to watch it myself. He said that's what happened. And I can't believe that woman ran over that ICE agent. She must be a radical, hateful, leftist woman, the worst kind of person in this country. And what was sad is that when he said in his Truth Social post that this woman ran over the ICE agent, I watched the video and I was like, where? And I was like looking, I was like, oh, maybe she like ran over his toes or something. But then I was like, that's ridiculous because that's not what he said. Right. And I shouldn't even be listening to anything that he's saying because it's ridiculous. Right. Nothing happened remotely like that. And you're absolutely right to point out the fact that she was getting mixed signals from what were there, 2 or 3 ICE agents at her door. One of them was trying to open her door, telling her to get out of her car. The other one was telling her to drive away. And then when she did one of those things, we all know what happened after that, and there's really just no way to justify it. And this is why we keep hearing calls to abolish ICE, not to reform ICE, not to tweak ICE, but just to get rid of them altogether because they're the ones terrorizing our communities. And no amount of incremental change is going to help here because the whole thing is rotten to its core and it needs to be scrapped, start over. Whatever the initial purpose of ICE was, we have so lost the plot so far that we need to just scrap it and start over.
100%. And as many people are noting online, abolishing ICE is the moderate position. We need to go way further than that. Obviously, that cop should be arrested. All the cops, by the way, that stopped doctors from getting to her, they should also be arrested. They should rot in jail. But you know what? That's like me being a lib or whatever. I should be more bipartisan, okay? I'm being too just leftist or whatever. We need to give some of the perspective of right wingers. So I'm going to extend an olive branch. The guy that shot her, I'm historically, I've been against capital punishment. I'm willing to make an exception. He should be put to death by the state for what he did. And he seems really into guns. So I think a firing squad would be quite appropriate. If he loves the idea of state violence, and all of you right wingers who are loving it, you're delighting in it online right now, let's get a little bit more of it. Let's get this guy who needlessly invaded this community, murdered this woman. He should be put to death by the state. We can end capital punishment after that, but I think that it's perfectly fair for him to die as a result of what he did. And the rest of them definitely jail. Maybe she could have been saved if they had allowed medical personnel to assist her. They chose not to do that. Every one of them chose to do what they did, and so they should suffer the consequences for it. Anyway, on top of Trump, let's just quickly say JD Vance is doing all this performative stuff. So he says every congressional Democrat and every Democrat who runs for president should be asked a simple question. Do you think this officer was wrong in defending his life against a deranged leftist who tried to run him over? Okay, well, I would say every Republican that runs for office should say, when he was on the side of the car, like directly to the side of it, should he have pulled the trigger twice and shot her in the head multiple times? Do you think that he should have done that? But I also want to reassure everyone, because one of the things I've been going around, I understand we're going way long in this. That's just what's going to happen. A lot of people are saying this is a moment where video evidence is out there and America is coming to 2 very different conclusions. They see different things in the video. And that sounds really bad. But I want to reassure you that it's actually worse than that. Because we are not looking at the video and seeing different things. We see the same thing, and then they're lying about it performatively for partisan gain. JD Vance does not think that she was trying to run him over. Trump, if he thinks anything, if he's capable of thinking anything, doesn't think that. All the right-wing media, they do not actually think that. They think she was trying to leave, she was executed, and that's great. They do not think a domestic terrorist needed to be killed. They think this woman, who I guess donated to Bernie Sanders once, should be killed by the state because she interfered with ICE. And you should just submit. You should always submit. These guys love the idea of submitting to a man in uniform. And they think that everyone should do that. And if you don't do that, you should be killed. And so that's darker than just coming to different conclusions, but that is actually what is going on. And by the way, Megyn Kelly doesn't think that this woman deserves to be killed, but she knows that if she doesn't say that, her audience will leave. All of them are captured by their audience that desires blood, constant blood. People throw around the terms of a death cult. We are seeing it. This is what we mean when we say that MAGA is a death cult. They love the idea that people that disagree with them are once again being killed by the movement. Anyway, let's move to this. I know we're super over. We'll do AOC and then, okay, let's jump to this. After the killing in Minneapolis, some Democrats are understandably furious. I think some of them are doing and saying the right thing, but I also think some are falling way short. Let's go to AOC first.
From the moment that this Congress decided to authorize and explode ICE's budget, they are accountable to no one. It's important that people know that ICE has less accountability than virtually any law enforcement agency in the United States. And yet they are some of the most well-funded. They are operating with impunity. And we just saw them murder an American citizen in cold blood in the street. And despite whatever lies that the president wants to say about what was happening in this, you can see what happened for yourselves. They shot a woman in the head in cold blood on the street. So this is now turned into what our greatest fear is and has been for a long time around ICE, that this will be used as an anti-civilian force, that it has no accountability. At the end of the day, what we saw today is a murder.
That's what it is. It will not be the last. They will be used against protesters. They'll be used in the run up to the election. That's what it's for. That's why he has this unaccountable, fabulously funded secret police. So good from AOC. She had a lot of other things to say. You have some people like Senator Chris Murphy saying that the government should be shut down to rein in ICE, rein in DHS. We'll see about that. But let's turn now to one of the local politicians, Tim Walz.
What we're seeing is the consequences of governance designed to generate fear, headlines, and conflict. It's governing by reality TV. And today that recklessness cost someone their life. Look, this was totally predictable, as I said it yesterday, and it was totally avoidable. And I just want to remind you too that local law enforcement, we get no coordination. They don't tell us they're coming. They don't say why they're sending the largest deployment in American history to Minneapolis. They're not making us any safer. We don't have any of that coordination. They should be talking to us when we do these things. Let us know we're going to be down here. This is going to happen. We don't have that. So when you see local law enforcement or state patrol, or if it would take the National Guard, we're there responding to the chaos they've created too. But our role is to make sure that we're protecting Minnesotans so that something like this doesn't happen.
Yeah, some of that sounds okay. And generally, I've liked Tim Walz, but I will say this has been a pretty bad week or two for him. Not only did he say that he wasn't going to run again, lending credence, undeserved credence to the Somali conspiracy theory that the right wingers are using, but he's done his press conferences and he's said good things. What has he done about this? A woman was murdered in cold blood. The right is utterly lying about it. The investigation is being blocked. The memorials are being destroyed. And his kind of harshest words are for protesters saying, hey, everybody, don't do anything crazy. And look, I agree with that. But maybe they wouldn't feel they need to do anything crazy if you, as the governor of the state where it happened, did literally anything. You could arrest that guy. You could arrest those agents, strip them of their guns, ensure that an investigation actually happens. What has he done? He's basically just said, hey, everybody, just relax. And let me tell you what I predict will happen if we just relax. Nothing. The guy will be fine. The DOJ will say, oh, actually, he's super cool. We're going to give him the Presidential Medal of Freedom. And that will be that. And Tim Walz has this opportunity right now to actually do something. And I don't see him doing anything. Maybe he's working on it, Yaz. Maybe I'm being premature. But right now, what we need is not a person to just be like, hey, everybody calm down, totally cool. Let's just, maybe Pam Bondi will get to the bottom of this. That does not seem wise to me. What do you think? Am I being
No, it doesn't. I mean, this is what we're used to though by now from the Democrats. And again, like Tim Walz is by far not the worst of them out there, but this is their MO. This is how they operate, right? They say, you know what, let's just everybody relax, everybody calm down. And maybe our institutions will operate the way that they're supposed to, even though they have not operated the way that they're supposed to for the last 10 years. The American people have no confidence in our institutions holding because we've watched them crumble and just fail and just not deliver the results that we're used to seeing from them time and time and time again. The Republicans are not well liked as a group because of this administration, but the Democrats are also very much not liked right now amongst the American people, which is very sad because when you compare them to the Republicans, it should be night and day. But the people are saying, you know what? You're not protecting us from these people. You're not doing enough to keep us safe from these people. And we need you to do something. You're the ones who wanted this job. You're the ones who said that you would be able to do something. You're the ones who said that you could and that you wanted to. You begged us for the job. You begged us for the right to protect us and to run our country. We let you do it, and this is what you do. Like they get their stock options, whatever it is, whenever they get into office, and then they don't do anything for the American people. And this is so typical because we've seen the way that this country as a whole, and then I'm including the Democrats in this, will protect even police officers when they commit similar crimes to this one. And I'm including Democrats in that because, again, we keep hearing the same stories with the same incidents over and over again, and nothing ever changes. We've seen gun violence in this country skyrocket. Nothing ever changes, not whenever we have Republicans in office, not when we have Democrats in office. Now we're seeing the DHS secretary, the vice president, the president of the United States outright bold-faced lying to the American people in an effort to protect another one of their so-called law enforcement agents. And they're telling us that this ICE agent was literally run over by the woman who was driving her car, when in the video we all saw him get up, or he wasn't even on the ground. He just walked away. He was walking away on two legs, no apparent injuries. And then they're like, oh, you know what? He's in the hospital recovering. These are the same people who denied that woman any kind of medical care. There was a doctor there who was saying, I'm a doctor, please let me go see her. They said, no, we have our own medics. And he said, where are they? That's who we're trying to protect here. The ICE agents who are in this country right now are the dumbest, lowest people in this country. And I have no problem saying that. They're uneducated. They seem just like they are not deserving of any kind of respect or reverence from the American people in general, but we've given them guns. We have empowered the dumbest people amongst us, the most hateful people amongst us. And we said, just do whatever you want and you will be protected. And this is the outcome. And we have no leadership right now, right? We have, it's what you said, our institutions are backing them, right? We can't even rely on our Department of Justice to enact justice whenever it's there. So it's not a very hopeful note that I'm ending on, but that's where we are.
Exactly. I have one or two other thoughts. I'll save it for the break, though. We'll be right back. So two quick things. One, I know the right, again, loves this. Oh my God, they absolutely love it. They can't wait to rush and tweet about it. I mean, they paused briefly to masturbate over yet another woman being murdered by the state. And then they go and they tweet about it and they tweet about it and they tweet about it. I just want everyone to bear in mind, the mass deportation scheme was already increasingly unpopular. Do they think that this is gonna like win over independents? Shooting this woman in the face and then making a big deal out of it? Do they think that's gonna help them? Maybe they're deranged enough to think so. The issue is that they believe that not just the American government, but the American people want fascism like they do. And that just is not true. That doesn't mean that they always get it right. They allowed Donald Trump by a very, very narrow margin, not even the majority, to become the president, but they don't actually want this. And they don't get that. Stephen Miller thinks he's like persuasive. He thinks he's charismatic. He's not. The other thing is, by the way, what the hell is the point of police? I mean, you have this like foreign occupying force that comes into the city, guns down a woman. Like you are tasked to protect and serve her. ICE isn't, but you are. They come in, they shoot her in the face multiple times. And the police are, what are we gonna do? I mean, you have a murderer right there. Why is he not in custody? I'm not saying you instantly cut his head off, but like if I shot a woman 4 times in the face, do you think that they might like hold me for a little bit? This is their actual jurisdiction. They're supposed to be protecting their people and not just from Guatemalans or whatever. We have a murderer walking. We don't even know who it is, by the way. We don't get to even know who the person is that did it. And bear in mind, from their point of view, this is a good, strong law enforcement officer who took out a domestic terrorist, and nobody should know who it is. They don't even want to know who it is betraying that they know how reprehensible this act actually was? How is it that he has not yet been identified? How is it that he has not been hauled in by the local police? He should be investigated, he should be charged. And by the way, if he's found guilty, he cannot be pardoned from those state level crimes by Donald Trump. So again, none of this is happening. And that is not just on Donald Trump, that is on the local Democrats and the local police as well. Okay, let's jump into some comments. Seated North Dog Dad, thank you for gifting a membership. I do appreciate it. Okay, Infinity, I was being facetious with my comments about the death penalty. I assume that reads to most people. I don't actually believe that. Thank you for your concern. I see your members' comments. I don't actually believe that. It would bother me less than it normally would, but I'm not actually advocating for that. Anyway. Carlin, the True Prophet says ICE, more like ISIS. Yeah, well, isn't interesting? Oh man, they were freaking out about the fact that Christians were being hunted down in Nigeria, right? I don't know, it looks like ICE is hunting down Christians in Minneapolis. They don't seem to care about that. It's a war on women, but when it's ICE that's perpetrating the war on women, suddenly they don't care so much. Anyway, Jackson Kissling says in a super chat, Miss Good was shot 5 miles from my house and we are terrified. Our community will never forget and never forgive these fascists. You should be terrified, and you should be more terrified than you were yesterday, because every ICE officer is seeing, hey, if I kill someone, president's gonna say really nice stuff about me. Guarantee there's crowdfunding going on for that guy right now. He'll get hundreds of thousands of dollars at the very least. Okay, I apologize to the team. I'm moving on to B. I think that we kind of have to at this point. Let's jump into our next video.
There are Republicans and Democrats alike that say they want to see elections in Venezuela. The president has said it's too soon to do that right now. But is there a timeline for elections in Venezuela? Is he committed to seeing that this year, for example?
You just said the president has answered that question, so I will reiterate what the president has said a few times now to all of you, which is that it's too premature and too early to dictate a timetable for elections in Venezuela right now.
Love the use of the word dictate. Sort of fits with the form of government we're working on here. Love her big smile. Hey, we've taken over this country and we get to tell them what to do. Why exactly would we dictate to them? I mean, after all, you guys are saying it was bad that he was a dictator. It was bad that he rejected the results of an election. And you can at least admit in Venezuela when it's bad that someone does that. So wouldn't it be good to have an election and let the actual winner win? Why is it that we would determine that? But anyway, Leavitt is happy with all this. It's her job to be happy with all of it, to smile, to emote to the extent that her face is still capable of doing so. But that said, she continued talking and there was a little bit of a slip up. Her machine gun mouth got ahead of her a little bit. Take a look.
The president has been adamant that he is now in charge of Venezuela, but Delcy Rodriguez said the government of Venezuela runs her country, no one else, saying, quote, there's no external agent governing Venezuela. So which one is it?
Let me just be very clear. This is the first time that I've addressed Venezuela from the podium since being back and since the historic and incredibly successful military operation, law enforcement operation conducted by our United States military. The president's entire national security team is in close correspondence with the interim authorities in Venezuela. We obviously have maximum leverage over the interim authorities in Venezuela right now. We're continuing to be in close coordination with the interim authorities, and their decisions are going to continue to be dictated by the United States of America.
Yeah, it's a law enforcement operation. She got there eventually. She was honest, briefly, accidentally for a bit when she called it a military operation, but that's what it was. And again, oh God, they love their little euphemisms. We have maximum leverage. What leverage do we have? Why don't you just say it? The woman who is now the president of that country, if she doesn't do what we say, we will murder her. That's literally what she means. And by the way, and under what justification, by the way, would we have to assassinate the head of state of Venezuela? Like we say Maduro was the head of a narco trafficking organization, although if you've been following that, they actually dropped that information from the indictment. They're not even claiming anymore. They don't even talk about the drugs anymore. It's all about how we're gonna get oil, which that has nothing to do with why we took that guy. Supposedly it had to do with drugs. Are we gonna kill her because of the drugs? They're not even claiming that. They're just saying, we now kill heads of state that won't do what we want. And we're gonna do it for a while. So he was asked, what's a precise time range for how long we'll remain the leader of Venezuela? Would it be 3 months, 6 months, a year, longer? Trump said, I would say much longer than 1 year. And I am old enough to remember Iraq and Afghanistan. Yeah, I think he's probably right. I think this probably will be much longer. It'll be a year or 5 years or 10 years of nation building in Venezuela, which of course is what Donald Trump explicitly campaigned on. Yaz, what do you think?
Yeah, this is so much going on all at once, right? And the intent at some point is to inundate people and to confuse people. But this has already gotten so much comparison between George W. Bush's 9/11 and his invasion of Iraq and what Donald Trump is doing here. So much so that they're using a lot of the same rhetoric that we heard back then. We heard weapons of mass destruction back then. We heard weapons of mass destruction here too. And they said like all these drugs are weapons of mass destruction in a less literal sense against the American people, right? It's an attack on the American people. But Trump didn't have the buy-in for a lot of this, and his strategy was all over the place. He said they have drugs. We said, where are the drugs? We don't see the drugs. And then he said, you know what? Now that we're here, we're just going to run the country, and you know what? We're just going to take all the oil because they stole the oil from us in the first place. The oil that is in their land, on their land, underneath their ground. That's our oil. That's what he's trying to sell to the American people. And unfortunately, a lot of his own supporters aren't going to look into that and see that he's not really telling the truth. Surprise, surprise. And so they'll be like, yeah, I guess that's our oil in Venezuela that we need to go and get back. Even though that's not the reason that he has been, attacking and taking over all of these ships and killing all these fishermen and all these things. Oil had nothing to do with any of that, right? Oil had nothing to do with why he went in and kidnapped Maduro in the first place, right? And the thing is, like, whenever you say something like, oh, why did he kidnap Maduro? People assume that, you're a fan of Maduro's. No, I'm not saying he's a good guy. I'm not saying he's a good leader. I'm just saying it's not my problem. Not right now. As far as this country is concerned, especially the country that elected Donald Trump, right? Largely on a platform of an America First platform, a Make America Great Again platform, right? Nobody voted for us to just enter into another Middle East-like war, this time in South America. It's the exact same thing, this time in South America, right? South America is the great untapped land. He's also got feelers out in Nigeria, very similar situations that we're dealing with here. And so when you look at it on a global scale, none of this is new, right? The PR aspect of how they try to sell it to the American people will change from time to time, right? George W. Bush got very lucky that they attacked us on September 11th, that some brown people attacked us on September 11th. So he said, you know what, I'm just gonna go invade this other country that's nearby, and the people, they won't know the difference anyway, right? So he invaded Iraq, and he had, what was it, a 72% approval rating in 2003 whenever he did that. This time, Trump doesn't have the same thing. He does have a lot of buy-in from his most ardent supporters, but a lot of MAGA is also saying, why are we spending money on this? Why are we starting any of this right now?
Exactly. And we're gonna be spending a lot of money on it. We'll get into how much more we'll soon be spending after this break. Okay, everybody, let's see what's going on out there. Igor says in a super chat, spiraling, they've lost their footing once again. They're flailing in a tantrum of disgust. When life holds nothing sacred, when the loveless turn to loathe, we'll witness this final threatened pose. A little bit of poetry there for you, although dark poetry. And yeah, I don't think it's like a coincidence that as their economic stuff has not only failed to deliver results, but people have actually noticed it. I think they are feeling a little bit more desperate, and they see all the things that they can't control, and so they're trying to control these things. They're invading other countries. They're ramping up their invasion of American cities. I don't think this is going to work for them in terms of popularity either, but they're signaling that they don't seem to care too much about that. Gabby, hey Gabby, says in a super chat, I thought right wingers were in favor of driving cars through people, their political opponents. Haven't they literally passed laws to that effect? Yeah, the idea was if you feel threatened by the fact that there's a person near you with a sign, you can murder them with their car if you want. But for some reason, if she felt like her life was in risk because a bunch of roided up slack jaws were surrounding her car. She's not allowed to slowly drive away for some reason. But again, don't expect an actual principle out of these people. They're not interested in that. They delight in not having to have principles. Blanco Bull says, your car horn is a megaphone. Morse code is easy. And he spells out how to do ICE with that. Thank you. CD Northstock Dad says, the party told you to reject the evidence of your eyes and ears. It was their final, most essential command, referencing the absolute insane Orwellian lies that JD Vance, Kristi Noem, and Donald Trump have been telling. And they know it's like, but again, there's a famous quote, I forget exactly who it's from, about how much joy they have under the authoritarian in being able to say utterly on their face absurd things, not having to have what you believe or say have anything to do with reality. It's fun, it's playful to them. It doesn't matter. They're getting what they want, the state violence against people that they disagree with. Anyway, Gargoyle Dragon says in a super chat, unless gas goes down to 99 cents, even MAGA will see this as just a corrupt corporate handout. They might be dumb, but they can at least connect dots. I hope so. They've kind of connected some dots in the last year. We've been trying to really point out how utterly unlikely it is that this will benefit literally anyone. I love the added detail from the past day that we'll be paying to build out the oil infrastructure in Venezuela. Not even the company. It's not even that, screw democracy, we murder people, and then ExxonMobil can go in and do what they want. It's we'll pay for it. Why the hell would we do that? Obviously we wouldn't, but Trump would. They're his donors. It makes sense for him to use money he doesn't care about, the actual American budget, to pay back the people who've given him individually money. Okay, over on Twitch, Erwan Venus has been here for 45 months. Thank you, Ghoul Girl, for 17. TWAS Audio for 21 months. Thank you so much. Hatchet Jack for twice as long, 42 months, says, although anarchy holds no guarantee for systematic violence, the state is a guarantee of it. Thank you for your support. Keep Your Ass Home, 55 months, says, hi, John. Hi, Yaz. Y'all have great chemistry. Thank you. Yeah, it's too bad that we've never been able to do like a show in person. Like you actually here. The next time you visit, we gotta like put 2 seats here.
I know. Well, I did get to see you when I was in LA that one time when I was in studio, but I should go back. That was fun. I had a lot of fun that day.
Yeah, it's too bad you can't do like a once a month trip out here or something like that to do. Like
I should. That's a good idea. I need to get out of Texas more often. So.
Yeah. And even even if you appear on like Indisputable or something, you can use our. Totally forgot about the break ending there, but anyway, we're back and we've got more news to discuss. First, though, I did want to remind you about sponsorship that TYT is doing a partnership with Noble Mobile, and you can. Let me bring. Our rundown is an absolute chaos right now. So as I've been saying for some time, it's the only plan that actually pays you to use your phone less. You can get their Noble plan, get unlimited data for only $50 a month, and any data that you don't use, you get cash back that you can spend however you want. You can get more information about that by going to tyt.com/switch, tyt.com/switch, or scanning the QR code right there. Okay, we're way behind in the rundown, so I'm trying to find where we've actually gotten to. Let's continue on as we were going, because I did preview that we're going to be talking about how much we'll be spending on the military, so let's jump into that.
We will define our vital interests in ways that are reasonable and that make sense to ordinary Americans. This is the approach and mindset that shapes the department's focus. As a result, the War Department will not be distracted by democracy building, interventionism, undefined wars, regime change, climate change, woke moralizing, and feckless nation building.
Except that they are in fact gonna do about half of that. To be clear, they still refuse to accept that climate change is happening. But the rest of the stuff, no, they're gonna do that. The interventions are now coming fast and frenzied every day. There's another country that they're threatening to intervene with. They've already done regime change. They're guaranteeing nation building. Really the only thing he was being super honestly about was that it's not gonna be about democracy. We're not going to expand democracy. All that stuff that we pretend to say about Maduro having been a dictator and isn't it better for Venezuela that we got rid of him? We're just saying we're gonna choose the next dictator. That's it. And thus, he's also right that there will be no woke moralizing about principles or philosophy or anything like that. And not just in Venezuela, of course, but coming to a Latin American or South American country near you. It could be Mexico, it could be Cuba, it could be Panama, it could be Greenland. By the end of next week, it almost certainly will be at least one of those. My money's on Greenland, although not literally. And the issue is that doing all of that nation building and interventions is expensive. Now, you might believe that, hey, we spend more on our military than basically every other country combined. Shouldn't that be enough? And after all, the Trump administration has been saying, we got to rein in government spending, get rid of that waste, fraud, and abuse. No, not when it comes to the military, because a $1 trillion military budget, that's nothing. Get a hold of a $1.5 trillion budget. That is what Donald Trump is now previewing on Truth Social, saying that after negotiations with all of these people, I have determined that for the capital G good of our country, especially in these very troubled and dangerous times, leaving off that they're troubled and dangerous because of him, our military budget should not be $1 trillion, but rather $1.5 trillion. This will allow us to build the dream military that we have long been entitled to. Blah, 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 a whole bunch of BS after that. So I just want to remind everyone, some of you might be living in Colorado. They were going to build this pipeline to give you fresh water to an area that's largely red, it's conservative. It costs $500,000. We don't have money for that. We don't have money for SNAP or TANF. We don't have money for Medicaid. We don't have money for literally any of that stuff. You know what we do have money for? A lot of it, $500 extra billion. And only then will we have a cool military. For some reason, $1 trillion for 1 year. Not like building from scratch a military for $1 trillion. The maintenance costs of $1 trillion a year just doesn't cut it anymore. Yaz, what do you think?
This is appalling. This was to be expected though, right? There's no reason that the American country we've never invaded another country just because, they have a bad leader there and they're not doing democracy right, or they're not doing it well enough that we have to just like go in there and help them, right? It's not our prerogative to do that. The only time we have ever gotten involved in any other country is because there's something in it for us, right? And this is a very expensive money-making operation for a very few corporations and for the American government, and it's expensive for us, for the American people, not for the billionaire American people, but just for the rest of us. And it's not conspiratorial to say that the American military complex, right? Whenever it goes out into the world to do its very moralistic missions, a lot of people are making money off of that, right? Including members of Congress, including those corporations that I alluded to earlier. So we need some kind of war, some kind of military operation to sustain our economy in a lot of ways. And on top of that, there's oil. We need the oil from countries like Venezuela and Canada and from the Middle East to sustain our economy here at home. They love to say that the United States is energy independent because we can frack all of our oil, but it's the wrong kind of oil. We still need the other kind that comes from places like Venezuela. And we have to be able to bring it here to places like Texas, like Houston, and refine all that oil. So it's never as simple as, the Venezuelan people really wanted me to go and take out Maduro, so I did that. No, all of this is always about money. It's always been about the economy. It's always been about power. And Trump now is talking about building up this incredible military as if we don't already have the biggest military in the world, saying it's not good enough for us. We need more, we need bigger, we need better. And he's invading countries like Venezuela already under the pretense of who's gonna do anything about it? Who's gonna stop me? Because there is no military that can take on the American military. So the American military, if we wanna get like old school imperialistic, just like the Russians are doing a little bit, who's gonna stop us? Who's gonna come up here and say, you know what, maybe can you just please not also take Greenland the way you just took Venezuela? He did, he just took Venezuela, he just took over another country, he said, we're gonna run it, that's ours, their oil, that's my oil. It doesn't get more imperialistic, more colonistic than that.
100%. Yeah, primarily for the oil, but also for the elements that they keep telling us we need so that we don't fall behind in the world arms race on AI. So, we should break up NATO so that we can do AI. All those indispensable things that we use AI for? Mm-hmm. Like, I don't know, there's gotta be something, right? I know a lot of like Elon Musk loving incels love undressing 12-year-olds on Grok. I guess that's worth breaking up NATO for, I suppose. Anyway, speaking of perverts, let's move on to one final story to close out the hour.
He has sexualized me on his show. He has sexually harassed me on his show. He has engaged in horrific, sexually exploitative
That's
rhetoric.
not true, Congresswoman.
It is true. It is true because he accused me of wanting to quote unquote sleep with Stephen Miller. So why don't you tell me what you think is acceptable to tell a woman? Thank you.
Oh, I love that turn away at the end. She's 100% right. So that's some producer for Jesse Waters that either thinks she would go on his show, which obviously she's not going to do that, and they desperately want her to because they know that that would give them the biggest ratings they ever had, or that he can get a little moment. And he got the moment. It's not one that made him look good, certainly not going to make him look good to any women in his life necessarily, asserting that she should be, for some reason, obligated to go on a show of a guy who constantly sexualizes her. But she's right to point that out. And as a reminder of what she references there, let's jump to one more video.
Do you think that MAGA men are insulted by AOC?
No, I think AOC wants to sleep with Miller. It is so obvious, and I'm sorry, you can't have him. Miller is the best. I know him well socially, and the man is not overcompensating. Dana, I know when people are overcompensating. I know people at this table who are overcompensating. That person is me. AOC may have someone that's taller like Gavin, or may someone has more distinguished characteristics like Adam Schiff, the senator, who talks like this, or someone with more wealth like Soros the Younger. But those men are not brave men. Men who are high value men like Stephen Miller take risks, they're brave, they're unafraid, they're confident, and they're on a mission, and they have younger wives with beautiful children. I think I just gave him like a dating recommendation.
I don't know, man, that was pretty creepy.
So literally the only positive thing out of that is that it should be fairly obvious that Jesse Waters is actually mocking Stephen Miller. The idea that literally anyone would want to sleep with him. And I appreciate that from Jesse Waters, and I agree, nobody would want to sleep with Stephen Miller. But along the way, he is explicitly sexualizing AOC. Making not just about Stephen Miller, by the way, about all these people. Oh yeah, no, should probably sleep with Gavin Newsom, should probably sleep with this guy, probably sleep with another person. And we're supposed to act as if he is a person not only worthy of her going on the show, but even just that he is a serious host, that he's a serious anything. He's a troll. That's literally all he is. He doesn't deserve a second of her time. That's my thought. Yas, what do you make of it?
Yeah, who even is serious anymore, John? You know, when you go on Fox News, you just read the talking points that Trump told you to read. And like, you're not doing any kind of real investigative journalism. You're not doing any kind of real reporting. You're not doing any kind of real analysis. You're only saying, we have to defend this line of thinking. We have to defend this administration, this presidency, and that's it. So like, really, what is the actual value of Fox News anymore? And so they have a lot of these segments where they do a lot of filler like that. And you know, like on this show, right, we're always like scrambling to like get everything in that we want to cover. There's more than enough news to take up an hour and a half worth of showtime out there. But on Fox News, they find time somehow to speculate about who a sitting congresswoman wants to sleep with in our government. Like, it's really ridiculous. And but they have an audience because a lot of people, I think, just like to turn their brains off and listen to some pervert and blather like that about a congresswoman.
Yeah, it's not supposed to be an hour that's supposed to tell people about the news. It's supposed to take up an hour so that the news is not discussed.
Exactly.
The country's not doing well. The right doesn't want to think about that. So instead, he fantasizes about AOC on TV, and his audience likes that because they're doing the exact same thing. He does understand his audience in the same way that Jesse Waters and Stephen Miller desperately want to sleep with AOC. Most of the 90-year-old men that watch that program want the exact same thing. And so he can at least read his audience, if nothing else. That is unfortunately gonna have to be it for the first hour of the show, but we do have a lot more to discuss in the aftermath, so don't go anywhere. We'll be right back. Welcome back, one and all, to the Aftermath. John and Yaz are here. We've got more news coming up, but first, don't forget about our sponsor, Noble Mobile. Save money by using your phone less and get unlimited data for $50 a month at tyt.com/switch. Okay, we have a lot to talk about, so let's jump into this first story. I'm gonna make Yaz answer for one of Texas's most famous residents there. Elon Musk spends a lot of time on Twitter, and he doesn't spend it well. Take a look at what he just replied to. This tweet from Jer that says, if white men become a minority, we will be slaughtered. Remember, if non-whites openly hate white men while white men hold a collective majority, then they will be 1,000 times more hostile and cruel when they are a majority over capital W whites. White solidarity is the only way to survive. So that's deranged. So obviously the owner of the platform, the richest man in the world, the unaccountable CEO of multiple corporations, replies 100%. Yep, we need to make sure that white men are the majority. They're not now. I don't even understand statistically what they think is going on. Because if we don't, then obviously we'll all be rounded up and killed by all of those non-capital W whites. This is not him believing a thing in private. This isn't him in a smoke-filled room. He tweets stuff like this constantly. And not just tweets, I'll remind you all, Sieg Heiling on stage and that sort of thing. It's like he wants to make sure that everyone understands the neo-Nazism that forms his political foundation, and yet people still claim to not understand it. His companies haven't absolutely tanked. People still invest in it. They put their financial futures on his back, and I will never understand that, Yaz. But anyway, you share a state with him, so answer for your dude.
No, I can't answer for this man. First of all, he's not even like an actual Texan. He's one of these California transplants that, we're not very welcoming of here in the great state of Texas. So no, I don't know what he's on about. Like these people need to feel like they're the victims. I mean, globally speaking, technically he is the minority. White people are the minority, or they're not the minority, but they're not the majority. There's a lot more Asian people than there are white people on the planet. So, like it's already here. The worst has already come, but it does remind me of that bit from Louis C.K., who I know is a controversial figure, but he did have a bit about how, as a white man, he can go back in history at any time and probably be okay. But in the future, there's no way that all of this bad karma isn't gonna come for the white man. So I was like, I don't know, maybe there's something there.
Yeah, and there's memes like that. And Elon Musk is just like, yeah, you know that meme? That's actually my ideology. And I believe it so fervently that I need to say it. But
out loud in written form. Yeah, 100%. It's very crazy.
But so I just want to end with this. So he's replying to stuff like that. But I just want to remind everyone, we're the ones obsessed with identity. We're the ones who do identity, but not him, not the guy who's tweeting out they're gonna genocide us stuff constantly. It's definitely us that is focused on stuff like that too much. Also, you know what else is going on Twitter? We've been reporting on this, the child sexual abuse material that people still can just generate. He's not doing literally anything to stop it. Did you know that as bad as the stuff on Twitter is, the main actual Grok thing that is not just put out onto Twitter, people are producing worse stuff there. They're making videos of 12-year-old girls having sex with grown men. And he is doing literally nothing to stop this. Which he could do, he could just shut down the service for a couple of days until they get a handle on it. He doesn't, because he knows this is the thing. By the way, in this, go to the Wired article. Grok is generating sexual content far more graphic than what's on X. This is not like a little niche thing of what Grok produces. The pornographic images is a very large percentage of all of the activity of Grok. So he knows if he were to stop his incel pedophile cultists from generating this material, there wouldn't be anything for Grok to do. And so I do not know why the boards are not doing something about this. He is willfully allowing the law to be broken countless times every single day with his inaction. Anyway, we're gonna move on to other news in just a sec. Dear God, the news cycle sucks so far this year. Let's lighten things up and talk about food. That can't be that bad, right? You recall under the Obama administration, Michelle Obama had charge of like fitness and food and trying to get kids and other people to eat healthier, and the right lost their goddamn minds about it. Well, that was before they discovered that they want to be MAGA. Now health is all for them or whatever. Well, anyway, I just want to remind you of how they responded when we cared about what people were eating. Take a look.
When I heard this, I thought, get your damn hands off my fries, lady. If I want to be a fatty and shovel French fries all day long, that is my choice.
We're going to have, the government fining us if we use salt.
Coming up straight ahead, all this talk about the government taking salt away from you because it's so bad for you. But aren't there good things about salt?
I hate the government getting involved and telling me what to eat and not to eat.
Food police. Do you think the government should regulate the ingredients in the food we eat?
Can't we make our own decision about whether or not we want to salt our food?
All right, an Obama government obesity task force. Does every American family need a dietitian appointed by the government to tell them that this food is going to make you fat and this food is not?
So that went on for a couple of years. And obviously everything they're saying is absolutely insane. The idea that, yeah, you're gonna go into the supermarket and there's not gonna be any salt there. The issue is that their audience believes those conspiracy theories. That was before they decided, oh wait, we like RFK Jr. and he talks a lot about food dyes, so I guess I'm a health person now. Joe Rogan, obviously you look at him and you're like, I should get all my health advice from him. And that's what they're doing. Except now with RFK Jr., it's literally the exact same thing that Michelle Obama was focusing on, which is which foods should you eat? Now with RFK Jr., it's not gonna be based on any actual science or what nutritionists say or anything like that, but he is still very much telling the American people what they should eat more of and what they should eat less of. And now the right loves it. So they've got their Make America Healthy Again segments they're doing about how the food industry is being shaken up by RFK Jr. And he's got his new food pyramid that we'll talk about where you're supposed to eat like 1.5 goats every day or something. And all of a sudden they love it. Now there was massive hypocrisy built into that. Some on the right are actually admitting the hypocrisy. Take a look at this.
But what we have to do better at and what we're working on also is those underserved communities that don't have access to a Whole Foods or
Michelle Obama called them food deserts. I kind of used to poke fun of her for that.
Well, listen,
maybe is she right?
Yeah, in fact, there's part of that. That's correct. But here's how we fix it.
We take it all back. She's right.
Oh, well, then we're all good. They took it all back. That's awesome. Wonderful to hear. Anyway, why don't we turn now to what has actually been announced? Take a look at this.
It's shocking that our own government helped to drive these cataclysmic changes in our diet. The damage is real, it is preventable, and President Trump has ordered it to end. If the United States reduced obesity, type 2 diabetes, heart disease, and Alzheimer's to Japanese levels, we would save approximately $600 billion a year.
Yeah, a lot of countries actually have better health outcomes than the American system. I wonder what is different between so many of these other countries and us. We should probably not look into it. But anyway, so we want to get obesity down. The issue is that he's the one deciding what's on this stuff. And so on his food pyramid, Yaz, steak is one of the biggest items. Every day you should be eating steak and chicken or whatever, because that's what like the podcasters that he goes on say to eat. It's not based on science or whatever. And I do agree that people should eat healthier. And there's probably some things we overlap on, but not everybody can afford to buy steaks, particularly under Donald Trump's economy. What do you think?
This is all insane. I have so many thoughts on all of this, John, and I don't know that I'm gonna get to all of them. But yeah, first of all, what does that even mean? Everyone eat a steak a day. Like me and you are both gonna have the same diet. I'm gonna eat an entire steak and you also, and we'll have the exact same outcomes if we just do that. All these food guidelines are very, even if let's say they're well-intended, they're very misguided, right? It doesn't make any sense for me and you to have the exact same diet. Me and my husband, we don't eat the same way and we live in the same house, We make it work, but this is something that I think about a lot, and like the right and their relationship with food has always been directly tied to their own freedom, right? And it wasn't just Michelle Obama who was a problem. Barack Obama, he was an elitist because he wanted Dijon on his burger. Cory Booker is gonna make us all go vegan if he ever becomes president, even though Cory Booker has never even like insinuated that that was a thing that he was considering. And the thing that bothers me about all of this is like, yes, it would be nice if we did have some kind of choice over what is in our foods, but they act like we have that now and we don't. There's already all kinds of nonsense in our food. There's a reason why the American people is so much more obese in general than people in Europe and other parts of the country. They're worried about salt, but they're not worried about how everything in our grocery store aisles is loaded with sugar and high fructose corn syrup. Like that's like we're becoming obese, and then the obesity becomes also, more expensive to treat in healthcare facilities. So our healthcare goes up. So it's all like a big thing. And they want to give you this idea, it's a very Republican talking point about, personal responsibility. You have to do all these things. You have to go out of your way to eat healthy, to avoid all these things that we have already put in your food because they're not good for you. Go out of your way to walk 20 minutes after you eat, even though we've designed a society that is not helpful in that regard, right? We are very sedentary. We eat a lot of junk and they're not helping us. Instead, they're making it more difficult. And then people like RFK Jr. can just come out and say, you know what, just eat more protein, eat an entire steak a day, which makes no sense. And you have to figure out how to make that happen for you, right? They're not gonna do anything to like make the cost of beef go down or like whatever, like they're not doing anything to make these suggestions more accessible to the American people. But hey, he did his job. He set the guideline, he made the recommendation. And so we should all just give RFK more of our tax dollars to just give us more of those.
Yeah, 100%. Look, of all the terrible things that they do, of even the terrible things that RFK Jr. has done, this at least,
not the worst.
I don't really see what effect it's gonna have on people. And it should be pretty easy. Once the process of de-Trumpifying the government happens, we should be able to erase this pretty quickly. But yeah, I just want to briefly mention the idea in his press conference. He says that Donald Trump has ordered him to eliminate obesity. Come on, man. RFK, what do you want me to do with that, buddy? You think he wants to be a leader on that? Do you think? No, this is absolute madness. And yeah, I'm sure RFK Jr. is having fun with this, encouraging every American to strive to be the liver king or whatever. But for most people, this remains a wildly elitist approach to this topic. Anyway, with that said, we're gonna turn in just a moment to one of our favorite people in the country. Really fast, Embedded Dude says in the members' comments, Trump is incapable of admitting that he was wrong about anything. I mean, I think that ship sailed once he was redrawing the paths of hurricanes on maps of America. So yes, I agree with you. Okay, with that said, let's jump into this.
The straw that broke the camel's back for me was the president calling me a traitor for standing with women who were raped when they were teenagers. One of MAGA's big campaign pledges was to release the Epstein files, and then having to say, am I going to have to be the next Charlie Kirk? Is my son going to get murdered because I'm trying to continue to do this job?
So that's kind of what we've heard from Marjorie Greene as she finished her final days of being elected representative. And it sort of makes sense. Donald Trump did call her a traitor. She did get the death threats. She seems weirdly okay with it. Like it's a reason to leave office, but it's not really a reason to like encourage other people to turn against him. It's just, it was inconvenient for me and my family that the president was encouraging people to potentially unalive us. So that's always seemed a little bit strange to me. But we have more from her appearance on The View. Take a look.
I think that's a bar that's too high for anyone. And it's real. Political violence is real and it's so sad. And the politics is so extreme and divisive. And I just don't want to be a part of that anymore.
That's like a person setting fire to a house and then saying, I don't want to be a part of arson anymore as she walks out of the building. Like you weren't just in the system, you were the one doing that. And Donald Trump still is. And again, it's very hands off. And this to me, like it just feels very Dan Bongino. It's like, oh, being like directly affiliated with this is gonna hurt my image. And also, as long as I have power, there's kind of like the responsibility to use it for something. Wouldn't it be convenient if I didn't have any power? And then nobody could expect anything of me. And then I could just talk. I'll just talk into a camera, I'll do a show or whatever. And then nobody has there's no obligation for me to actually do anything. And that I just think deserves so much more criticism. If you believe that Donald Trump declared you a traitor to cover up the Epstein files, You need to be in Congress to make sure that those files come out. Or at the very least, you need to be making clear to people why it is that Donald Trump is willing to have you unalived to stop those files from coming out. Instead, it's just, I don't want to be toxic anymore, so I'm just gonna go or whatever. I don't want to be political anymore. And by the way, I don't buy that for a single second. So I can't be specific, but I will just say I happen to know that she is shopping around a podcast, and it is obviously going to be political. It's obviously going to be a future springboard to a political campaign. All of this is resetting the deck. It's rebranding. That's it. That's my opinion. Yaz, give me your thoughts.
Yeah, so much of modern politics these days is about personal branding, right? You have to be charismatic, you have to have an angle, you have to go viral, you have to have all these moments, you have to say the most inflammatory things so that people remember you. Not just that they see you and notice you and say, oh, you know what, I kind of like what they had to say. You have to infuriate people. And that is what Marjorie Taylor Greene was so good at doing. And that's why she was able, just as some regular old congressperson, to elevate on the national stage the way that she did. And she also was very much in cahoots with Donald Trump. He elevated her as much as he could. She was, the QAnon congresswoman. So she was inflammatory already from the get-go. And as soon as she came out, she was out the gates talking about space lasers. And people were like, what is going on over there? It is a good thing that she said anymore. She doesn't want to be a part of that system anymore, because at least she's acknowledging that she was once a part of that system. Maybe, I don't know if she's acknowledging how big of a role she had in that system, but she's acknowledging on some level that I was a part of this problem. Maybe better late than never, but I still just don't trust her. I don't know why she's like broken from Trump, but according to her, she hasn't really broken with the right. She still holds many of the same views that she had. So there's a chance that there isn't as much of a break as she wants people to believe. She's trying to appeal to a broader audience. She realizes that a lot of her support was coming from a very niche, narrow audience. So she's trying to widen that stance a little bit now, but also a lot of people in the Republican Party, especially the most vocal Trump supporters, are kind of, looking ahead a couple years and saying, you know what, Trump's not going to be around for so much longer. So we're going to need to pivot and figure out what our next move is from now. And if that means breaking from him now, then that's what we're going to see a lot of them doing in the next, in 2026 and 27, I would imagine.
Yeah, look, we're going to end on this, I think, because we only have another minute or two. But yeah, I think she's just going to bide her time and wait for Donald Trump's arteries to fall apart like string cheese. I think that's all this is about. It's like, it's too risky going up against him. So I'll just bide my time. I'll do a show. I'll make some money. And then I'll try to, maybe people will forget how terrible I was. And then I'll run for senator or I'll run for governor or whatever. That's what it is. If she actually didn't want to be a part of this toxic system anymore, you know what she could do? She could run the goddamn company that was given to her. And that could be her life. She could hang out with Brian Glenn, be a millionaire, and that's it. She ain't gonna do that, okay? She's going to be hosting a show to run for something, maybe for president, God only knows what, but that's what it's gonna be. And by the way, for both her and Bongino, like if MAGA allows them to just get on the inside, running on conspiracy theories and how they're gonna take down the elites and they're gonna take down the pedophiles and all that, and then they just go, I didn't expect it would be tough. I'm just gonna leave. That's fine, they could quit. But if you still follow them and admire them, then they're not just the bad guys, you're the bad guy at that point. And apparently, by the way, Dan Bongino had his first show back after quitting government. And a lot of the comments were hugely critical of him. We'll see if that continues, but she should get the same thing. Like, she came in saying she is going to get justice for those who are being trafficked and sexually assaulted and all that. And when it turned out that, the cover-up is actually being perpetuated by my guy, the guy whose cardboard crotch I groped on stage one time, well, I don't want to fight or anything, so I guess I'll just go host a podcast. That is pathetic. And not even from my point of view. That should be seen as pathetic from the point of view of the people who are posting QAnon memes and going and try to shoot up Comet Pizza and all that stuff. You guys should have way higher expectations for her. Anyway, that's all the time we have for this show. Yaz, as always, it's a pleasure to have you here. Thank you.
Of course, yeah, and I'll be back on Monday, it sounds like, to host, to fill in, because you're not gonna be here.
Yes, I'm going to be doing childcare obligations. So thankfully, Yaz is going to be filling in as host with JR, which should be awesome. It always is. And so definitely stay tuned for that.
Yeah. And I'll also be on, oh, sorry.
No, you
I was going to say I'm going to be on the Young Turks tomorrow.
Awesome, as will I. And Brett will be here tomorrow to throw away our garbage people of the week. Should be a lot of fun. So definitely stay tuned for that. For now, stay safe out there, stay sane out there, and we'll see you soon.